Toolset, getting things done when the pressure is on. And the pressure is on because I've got 20 minutes and I've got a lot of things to cover. I won't be taking questions, but if you want to speak to me at the end, I'm happy to speak to you. And there's some contact details. So there's no slides. This is the slide deck. It's in Azure Data Studio notebooks. Who's used notebooks here? Oh, a few. OK, cool. Notebooks are quite a nice feature in the fact that you can embed images. You can actually embed GIFs if you want, and you can have your SQL code. So I'm just going to go through a script library that where it evolved, or where it came from, and where it is at the moment, and how when I'm under pressure and I need to fix things quickly, how I can get to the tools that I need. And then I'll cover a DBA tool set, which is useful for devs as well. And then I'll give you a live demo where I'll break my server and then fix it, all in the 20 minutes. Contact details at the bottom, or just speak to me afterwards. OK. So I'm quite an advocate of shortcuts and doing things simpler. So the first shortcut I've got is Windows key 2, which will jump me into Management Studio. So this is where I originally started. I have these big, long scripts. This one's a security module. And I had a lot of these scripts, and I kept adding to them and adding to them. And they started becoming a bit unwieldy. So then I moved on to Solution Explorer. You can embed different folders and different levels, so you can find your scripts. And if you use bookmarks, you can jump to the particular bookmarks. One nice feature of this is it does remember the connections that you've connected to, so if you connect to multiple servers and stuff. Jumping back into Azure Data Studio, so Windows key 1. What I've now got is a pinned to the top is my home screen. As you can see you can embed pictures, and there's a real sneaky way of doing it, which if you've been in a Rob Sewell sessions, you'll see how he does it. I'm not going to go into any details, but I've actually detailed how to do it, and also some other features that I'll show as I go along. All these are in GitHub, which I'll come to anyway. Okay. So what I've got here now is a set of scripts. For example, if I jump into here, we've got hyperlinks to everything. And then we've got, at the top, annotation of what the scripts are and the actual scripts. So if you're not familiar with Azure Data Studio and notebooks, you can either run it all in one fell swoop, or you can run individual things. So I've now got a set of scripts I can jump backwards and forwards in, really easy, and find the things that I want. There is also a couple of other really shortcut ways of doing it. You can click on the notebook sections on the side and then find the particular one you want. Also, Azure Data Studio is full of shortcuts. So if I do Control-P, type in, I want to find something on Profiler, click on that, it takes me straight away to that particular one. So I've got a tool set now that I can actually find the scripts. These scripts are ones I've borrowed off the internet, ones I've created, ones I've evolved. Anywhere that I've found them, I usually put a link in back to the resource. One thing to note, you can actually, because this is just a markup language, if I just go into there, you can actually see how it looks that way. So you can actually have different types of markup. And with the language, you can actually also embed headers into the code. So each of those scripts, I could jump to a certain section having a hyperlink to it. But there's a caveat to that. You can have trusted and non-trusted. So at the moment, I can jump between all these different ones and then jump back. If I jump to an individual section, it breaks it. Hopefully that will be fixed, and then that will be even more powerful. I'll click on the exact script I want, and it'll take me to the exact thing. Dead simple to actually maintain, and I've got a template here, if I just find it. So I've got a template for new scripts. All I do is go to one of the scripts I want, or I've found, for example, I've got a useful script here. Another shortcut key that I showed you before. Sort of not as good in Windows 11, but if you're going to show more options, I've got a copy to Clipboard. Oops. Yeah, there we go. Let me just do that again. Show more options, and I've got a copy to Clipboard option. That saves me going to right-click, opening Notepad, Control A, Control C, into the next app, Control V, etc. So if I just click that. Okay. So if I do that again and just copy and paste that in, more options, copy to Clipboard, and then go back into Management Studio, add a new cell, code cell, paste it in there. Nice little feature here. If you click on that, you can split your code up. So if you notice, they're splitting up into different sections. So I'm quickly taking one of my existing scripts, splitting it up into different sections, then I'll go back, put more annotation on, and I'll show you some scripts that someone else has done, the Glenvarry scripts, which were really useful shortly. You can also export these out to a .SQL file, so you can maintain both sets of them. The nice little feature over Management Studio, is the inbuilt GitHub. So basically, all these changes I make, I can then push up into GitHub and can pull them down. So if I'm on a customer site and the security models where you can't bring anything in, which happens quite frequently, you can actually, as long as you've got a web browser, you can browse to that particular one, go into notebooks, find the list of notebooks, the exact ones you've just seen, which are stored on my hard drive. And for example, the Glenvarry ones I mentioned before, I can click on these. Notebooks present themselves really well in GitHub. It's quite a large script, this, if you've ever come across it before. In fact, I think I've got it open here. Yeah, I've got it open here. So that's a notebook, more annotation, and also he's actually put links into information. So you can start building up a real powerful tool set. You can download this and use it yourself or create your own. The one thing to be wary of, because at the moment this is a private GitHub, after this session I'll make it public, and then I'm going to maintain 2 versions of it. So I will grow this, so if anyone wants to pull it down and use it. But the thing to be wary of in notebooks, if you run a query, it actually stores the data in the notebook. So if you end up pushing that back to GitHub and it was on private, you're potentially pushing data out, just to be wary on that one. Okay. So I'll jump into Management Studio now. Just get rid of that. So I use Management Studio a lot, and I use Azure Data Studio, and I just use that as a repository for some stuff. But I wanted to show you a shortcut key that I use every day I'm in Management Studio, because it's just such a nice feature. And I've thought of a way to try and evolve that over the years, which I'll come to shortly. And I've enhanced it thanks to actually one of the guys sat at the front, which I'll come to. So if we go into Tools and Options, I have a set of stock shortcut keys set up. The first one I'm going to discuss is this one. If you notice, it's basically a select top 50 from without the table name, which is quite useful shortly. Then I've evolved it to using a stored procedure. And who's used Adam Mechanics who is active here? Yeah, a few. If you're not aware of it and you use SQL, it's worth looking into. I'll show you it, but I'm not going into too much detail. The bit that is of interest that I've added to it is that bit, and also the DBA toolset, which I'm going to show you. Okay. So, scenario. I'm on a new database. I don't know too much about the schema. I've got a view as an example. This is just a VentureWorks, and I want to know something about the employee data table. What I previously used to do was select top 50 star from and highlight that and run it. And then quite frequently, I'd comment it out in line in the code. So you start getting very messy things like that. Where that shortcut key, if you remember the one select top 50 from, I highlight that table. My shortcut key is Control-A. If I do that, I get the top 50 rows from that table. So I can quickly, any table, find that information out. And that's saved me so much time. And now on to the bit where I've evolved that slightly. And this comes off the back of a talk Mike Hughes at the front did on Management Studio. What I wanted to do was basically pass a value into a string, so like a where clause. Give me all the columns from this table by using that column. The problem being is, I'd have to put quotes around the table name for that where clause to work. And I came up with this really clever solution, I thought. I came up with this really clever solution of actually having a script, and the final bit was a parameter passed into a stored procedure. And because I know the procedure that it is, and I know which speed it's running in, I could get the stuff out of the buffer, and I did a double at and then search for that string. Found what the name of that actual procedure, that variable was, and then I could use it. And I thought, this is genius. Didn't work. And then the penny dropped. The solution is just so simple, and I've been trying to think of this for years. You basically just pass the value into a stored procedure. You don't need quotes around it. It won't work if your table object or your column object's got spaces in, but it'll work standard. So what I've got now is, if I do my shortcut key 7, just expand it so we can see everything. Okay, so I've got the same I had before, just top 10 this time. I've also got a whole world of information here. I've got all the columns listed in order, so I use this to create an insert statement. If I'm putting data into a temporary table, I can actually use that, just drop the ID off if I'm duplicating data. I've also got the columns in alphabetical order, because one of the customers I worked at had tables with 300 columns in, and trying to find, I knew it was answer something, but I didn't know what the actual context was. I know there are tooling that will help you with these things. Number of columns in the table, number of indexes, and this one's really useful. The number of row counts on the table. That's just using sys indexes. So obviously it's an evolving state, but it's an approximation. But that's perfect for what I want. I don't want to do a select top star from a 50 million row table and stuff. Also, if I scroll down a bit further, I've got some of the DBA tools linked into it, which is giving me some information on the indexes, which I'll come to. Any missing indexes. And this one, which I found really, really useful, it's the actual table structure. So I know body is an mvarchar max, and it just makes life easier, just with one quick shortcut key. The other advantage of this is if I go up to here and select a column object, if we imagine this was a query that had loads of joins in, and I highlight that and do the same shortcut key, what I get now, it tells me that where that column is in what tables. And this is all just the power of a quick shortcut key. That will evolve, because now I've worked out I can do that. Anything you can do with a table object, a view object, you can actually do it. It's just a procedure, which is, again, accessible within here. Okay. 20 minutes is tight. So DBA toolset, I want to just touch on this. So I've got a script here, which runs in SQL command mode. And the scenario here is, I'm on a client side. They've said it can be installed on their server. These scripts are actually on my local machine, but they're all referencing a folder, that folder at the top. I can just execute this, and it will actually put all these stored procedures. You can use this mechanism for yourself. So I'm just going to run that in now. And basically the output is running this tools job. And what I've got now is a set of scripts. I've got extended properties on it. It's telling me the syntax. It's telling me description and stuff like that. So quickly, I can roll this out. And then I'll just give you an example of some of these. DBA tools. OK. Scenario, developer said the dev box has run out of space. I can run a quick shortcut key, and that'll tell me log space on AdventureWorks is 100%. That's the issue. So these things you can evolve. You can add them yourself. What else is there in here? I'll just do a couple of them. Rows, missing indexes, index stats. Oh no, index columns. I use this a lot during optimization. You can use SB help index on a table, and it'll give you the indexes. But what it won't give you is the includes columns. And Microsoft is really good, I find an includes column, of recommending an index which is very similar to another index. You might see it'll give you 5 or 6 indexes, and they are more or less the same. Using this procedure and this function, I can actually say, well, I've got an index very similar to that. I could actually tag that onto the includes and stuff. Obviously, there's caveats with that. It's not as straightforward as that. Cheers. Okay. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to create a scenario where I break production and fixing it using the DBA toolset. So I've got a little script. It's just a PowerShell script. Like I said, all these are in GitHub, so you can have a play. So all I'm doing is basically running a procedure that's going to create some contention, create some blocking in this scenario, and run it parallel. So I'll just kick that off. My PowerShell. So this is where everything goes wrong, probably. So this is now running a procedure over and over again, and I've got a little SPID popping out how slow it's going. Because there's more and more things running, it's starting to take a bit of time. So I've got a call. The server's running really slow. So the add a mechanic stuff I've got as a shortcut key. The bit I showed you earlier was the addition bit added to it, gives me the SQL command. So I can see this is what's running on my server at this point in time. I know that that's an issue. Using the DBA tools, should never type in a demo, DBA tools, because I've obviously got these as shortcut keys. Yeah, see, never type in a demo. And I've got a blocking information one. So if I scroll down, paste it in here, I'll paste it in a window, and just run that. Everyone's shouting at you at the moment, and I have found at the top of that blocking chain, I've got the actual what is blocking the system and what's blocking the next one and the next one. So this scenario could be a user's running a report, gone on lunch, run a query with an open transaction. The solution's obviously different, depends on what happens, but you could just kill that SPID and the system's back working again. But literally within, well, what I've done, 2 minutes from that issue starting, you can get to deep dive into the actual issues or a start towards that. So you fix the issue, it's gone away. You want a bit more information, so we can use a bit more, we can get a bit more information out of the DBA toolset. So I've got, that's the procedure. I know I caught that using the add mechanics SP who is active. I also saw it in the blocking thing. Using the shortcut key again for DBA tools. The ones I'm going to use now, just, right, procedure stats. And let's see, what else is there? Execution plan. Okay. So I worked at this company that they had a scenario where they had a timeout of 30 seconds on their system. They wouldn't change it, and a lot of things hovered around about the 20-second mark. So you start getting scenarios when you get contention on the system, one thing breaks everything. And things like this was quite useful, because what that's showing me there is the average elapsed time is 42 seconds. So I've also got some routines with extended events and some profiling software that does some analysis, which couldn't fit into a 20-minute session, which at some point, hopefully I'll do a longer session. But you could monitor performance and see the changes in it and stuff like that. Query Store does obviously something similar as well. So I could quite easily quickly see this is the procedure at fault, even after the event. The next thing you can look at is where we go? A minute to go, execution plan. So it's all finished. I want to have a look what actually happened in that procedure. I can click on that. It shows me the execution plan. I can actually drill in. If there's more than one plan, I'll get that. And I can see there's a missing index. So very, very quickly, I've solved the issue. I've got some more information on it. And I can apply that index or look further into it. 30 seconds to go. And that's the final bit. Feedback session. There's the stuff. I'll be publishing it later. It'll be public. So if anyone's got any suggestions or anything to make it better, feel free to contact me. Thank you. Cheers.